So I got to tell you guys, I wasn't expecting this propane thing to be as sweet as it is. I showed you last week, we picked this up off of Facebook Marketplace, and I bought it on a whim. The price was right, and I was like, sure, let's give this a shot. This looks like it could be fun. So I said last week that I was going to stick it on the 361 and just play with it, just see what happens. So the day before yesterday, that's what I did. I bolted it all on, and I've been working through some teething pains with it because there are aspects of it that I'm definitely not accustomed to, but I'm learning, I'm getting the hang of it. And I'll show you the setup real quick. So, tank, hose, vaporizer, that's it. No pump, no nothing, just like tank, hose, vaporizer, mixer, okay? And you see I've got this temporarily mounted right now. It's just one bracket bolted to the back of the carburetor or back to the back of the mixer. This is still floppy, but so we're going to come up with a nice mounting system for it. But this is essentially how it has to be. The vaporizer has to be at a higher height than the mixer because propane is heavier than air, and so it needs to be able to go downstream like that. Wow, this thing it's definitely different. It's definitely different. It's cool. I'm going to fire this thing up for you. Like I said, I've had some teething pains with it. I'm learning, but wait until you see how sweet this thing is. Hang on, let me, let's see. Let's hook up our ignition. Now, this is an important point. I'm going to tell you about the ignition afterwards. All right, so that's that. I'm blown away by this. There's zero tuning involved here. So, and that's something I still have to learn about as far as enriching. I got to put an air fuel meter on this. Still have a lot to learn. But this thing is just, that's it, ice cold. And it's still cool. I mean, you touch the motor, it's barely got any heat in it. The throttle response is just off the chain. And at like mid-range, 3,000, 4,000 RPM, it's just magic coming out of the pipes. Now, I don't know what, I mean, sound doesn't always equate to power, but it does equate to like health, right? So this thing sounds fantastic. What I learned with it, so initially the first thing I did was I had a distributor, I had a locked out Mallory distributor in here that I had used in one of these other cars. And it was fine. And it would light off when it was cold and just absolutely just sound perfect. But you couldn't restart it. Like, as soon as you go to restart it. So typically with a locked out distributor on a gasoline engine, after the motor's hot, you'll pump the gas 3 or 4 times, hold the throttle about a quarter way open. Basically, you drench the motor with fuel. You hold the throttle about quarter way open, spin it, and she'll light right off. But it doesn't work that way with propane. Because the propane, you can't wet the motor down with the propane, so right away it wants to kick back. So I had to change out the distributor. I grabbed this thing off the shelf. So this has got approximately 20 degrees of lead in it now. So I've got it set for 34 total, and it backs off to about 14 at idle. So now it starts easily. It doesn't want to kick back. So that's definitely one of the differences, one of the main tuning differences, or functionality differences between a hot rod propane motor and its equivalent gas deal. I'm thrilled with it. I'm thrilled with it. I've got to make brackets. Oh, see, that's the other thing too. You see, this is starting to ice up. You see this? So that's why these water ports, it's got these 2 ports, one here and one here, and these need to be plumbed to hot water. So when the installation is complete, we'll have that plumbing. And this open port here, this is like a boost reference. It has to remain open for the diaphragm, but if you were to turbocharge or supercharge this thing, a blow through, this is where you would boost reference to diaphragm, the same way you would do, let's say, a mechanical fuel pump. So we can't just leave that open like that. I'll come up with something to, align or whatever. But yeah, the propane thing is like, it's really cool, I gotta tell you. It just sounds fantastic. So I changed my priorities a little bit. Originally, my idea was to stick the Jeep motor in the Belvedere and start playing with that, and the propane on the Jeep motor. But you know what? I'm going to stick. We're going to change the plans a little bit. We're going to put this big block, the 361, in the Belvedere first, and I want to do back-to-back gasoline. Just switch from an equivalent carburetor, and it's going to be a small one because this single mixer only flows about 460 CFM. So I'll probably try to find like a 500 or so CFM carburetor and do back-to-back tests between the two. And then I want to see how far we can go with this propane. If it works out to be as promising as the sounds coming out of the exhaust of this thing, we may try a dual mixer setup. Get ourselves up to around 900 CFM and see what happens. So that's it. I just wanted to share some magic, some exhaust magic with you guys. It just sounds fantastic. I'm thrilled with it, and I can't wait to see what it's going to do. My previous to this, all of my experiences were propane-powered things, engines, were always like forklifts. You walk into a place and they got propane forklifts, and they're just kind of wheezing around. You know what I mean? It's like nothing really inspiring there. I had never heard one on an uncorked V8, and totally different impression. I'm psyched for this. I'll see you tomorrow.